Kilmar Abrego Garcia, as we're talking about people who are being taken to El Salvador, still in that space, even though the Supreme Court and all the courts leading up to that decision have essentially said you, a federal government, are responsible for bringing him back. They use the word facilitating, which to me, Attorney Krasner felt kind of like the Supreme Court talking about desegregate with all deliberate speed. I wasn't really feeling it, but I was like, all right, the language is what the language is going to be. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is still gone. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is still incarcerated somewhere in El Salvador in CCOT. What does it look like when we're approaching the military coup? We've got the foundation laid for the military and the policing force to be one and the same. We've got credible threats of sending people away, and the judiciary, which is supposed to be the backstop. They did what they were supposed to do, but we all know the judiciary doesn't have its own military and army. We keep hearing this phrase, a constitutional crisis, but rarely is there discussion about what happens after the crisis. It has seemed to me that the one thing that they have not been able to figure a way around has been the power of the people. I was talking yesterday over in Burkina Faso. You had thousands upon thousands of people surrounding the embassy out of the fear that America is going to try to invade and assassinate the new leader, Ibrahim Traore. You had people all across the Pan-African diaspora, Ghana, Jamaica, throughout the Caribbean, even here protesting to say, we see what America is doing. We do not want you to assassinate this man. The power of the people is gathering internationally in defense of what the people are determining. We're seeing here in this country where people are organizing. We saw the gentleman who was arrested by ICE in his green card interview, and literally he was released this week. But that was on people power. What is it going to require from the population of humans in this, the heart feeling people who are still in touch with empathy, still in touch with the notion that justice and empathy and equality are required in order for this to truly be an equitable world? What is the people power going to have to look like if the military is compromised, if Congress is not going to stand up, if prosecutors like yourself are in the crosshairs? What is the obligation and the role of the people, not after the midterms, but from now until, in order to be a backstop against this?
Well, more than anything is to wake up, and there are very good signs here. Just as you described, we had a big gathering in Philadelphia just yesterday for May the 1st, organized by the AFL-CIO, which is a union of unions, where a national level elected official, Bernie, came and spoke. And there was a pretty enthusiastic big turnout. We are seeing these gatherings, imperfect though they are, mostly older folks, for not as diverse as they should be, but this is how things start and this is how they grow. And perhaps most importantly, for anyone feeling like it's already over, no, it isn't. Look at the fact that this man's approval ratings are the lowest in U.S. history 100 days in. Look at that. He won the popular vote by all indications, and he won the electoral vote. And yet in 100 days, he lit himself on fire and threw away the fire extinguisher. Okay? Look at that. We should be encouraged by that. We should be pushing by that. The fact that there are town halls where people who voted for Trump are trying to yell at their Republican legislators and the Republicans won't even show up. That should tell you something, that there is hope here. And what we have to do is be brave together. Some of this is about the following. Anybody I started out my schooling, inner city schools in St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I was born, right? Anybody who has been in a public school in the schoolyard knows that there's always a bully getting by more on reputation than actual strength. And what it takes is for some people to stand up and let that bully have it. And then all the other kids see it. And now that bully is demystified. Now we know that it's a whole lot of hot air and not a whole lot of muscle. And then what happens is that all little kids look at each other and say, wow, there's more of us than him. Well, yes, there are. There are a lot more of us than him. So that's why it's so important that people in the community, that people in media, that people in elected positions stand up and say, I'm not scared. Come and get me. I speak Spanish. That's why we have to do it. And I know that you spoke Spanish beautifully there. So, I'm not trying to send you to El Salvador. I'm just saying I will visit you. I will visit you. I'll put some money on your commissary if it happens, and I hope you do the same for me. Because
God
actually,
forbid.
none of us are going to go there if we all stand up, but we got to stand
If
up.
we all stand up. That's right. My final question for you, and I appreciate the time that you're giving us. And y'all in Pennsylvania, make sure you are check your voter registration, check your voter registration, check your voter registration. Attorney Krasner, we have seen, in addition to a revitalizing of what it feels like and what I have been consistently calling a revitalization of white Christian nationalism in the policy making and in the sentiments and in the current culture of the communities that we all live in. There's also been a very effective dismantling of the infrastructure that has upheld integration up until this point. From your perspective, within the legal community, I know executive orders can't necessarily trump laws until the people decide that they are going to be given the effect of the laws. What is it going to look like from a racial justice perspective to put and quite frankly, I don't want to say this in a way that indicates I want to go back to what was, because I think what was insufficient, and it was what we had. But now that we realize how easily broken it was able to be destroyed, we need to do something beyond what we had before. So I'm not suggesting that I want us to go back to the past, but as it pertains to envisioning a future within the legal system where racial justice is once again at the forefront and in ways that are going to actually have some reform implications on the ground. I've seen what you have been doing. I've seen what Eric Gonzalez in Brooklyn has been doing, picking up on the mantle of Phil Thompson, who is now an ancestor. May he rest. Talk with us about how we are going to return. What is it going to take for us to return to a space where criminal justice and racial justice are in consistent conversation with each other, such that the criminal legal system is going to be reformed to actually work to the equitable benefit of all of us?
Well, one of the really interesting things is while all this crazy rhetoric is going on, we are seeing a national decline in incarceration. The decline in Philly is sharp. It's not as sharp in other places, but a lot of the ideas that are fundamental to either progressive or reform prosecution, whatever you want to call it, are sinking in. And they're sinking in largely because the massive weight of mass incarceration is so crushing and so damaging to the country that, you can be a person of any background from the suburbs who knows somebody who died of a fatal overdose because of our drug policy being sideways, who saw a girlfriend or boyfriend from their past go to jail for something little. You can actually have been out of the real experience that many black and brown people and a lot of broke people have in the United States. You can be out of that experience and still know how unfair it is. So I'm not so sure that all this crazy Ku Klux Klan loving white supremacist nuttiness, I'm not so sure that that is actually winning the long game. I think it might be winning the media game. I think it won an election game. I'm not so sure it's winning the long game. And I will say, let's just look at some of these progressive prosecutor colleagues of mine. Okay. Kim Foxx did amazing stuff in Chicago. Aramis Ayala and Monique Worrell, amazing stuff in Orlando. They even Meatball Ron down there in Florida even threw Monique Worrell out of office, and then the voters put her back in, right? I'm not so sure we're losing this war. You can lose a battle or two or three, and you can still win the war. But what it will take is 24/7 vigilance, hard work, pushing, connecting with voters. It will take our Democratic Party, my Democratic Party. It'll take them a moment to stop pretending they're Republicans like they've been doing since the Clinton era. It will take them to actually say, we're growing these tent. We want tent. We want young people. We want people who have every reason not to trust government to get involved. That's something we've actually seen with our off-cycle DA elections because it's all about criminal justice. And you have all these voters turn out who don't turn out for other elections. It's kind of like what happened after Dobbs when they took away abortion rights, and reproductive care for women. A whole lot of women who might not have voted otherwise came out, right? So we got to grow that tent within the Democratic Party. There's really no reason we should be losing this race. There's no reason this man should have won two elections. There's no reason other than failures on the part of some of the dinosaurs. Yep, I said it, dinosaurs in the Democratic Party to get out of the way and let the young talent who understand the young voter get in there and do something.
It's so interesting you say that. Earlier this morning, we had David Hogue on, DNC vice chair, talking about some of the efforts and reforms he's pushing and some of the challenges that he's running into. You can feel about that however you will. But as I've said, I appreciate disruption, and I'm not quite sure I'm in full alignment with how he's navigating, but the disruption is necessary because what was happening is not effective in this moment. Attorney Krasner, your election, is it May 20th? May 20th?
May the 20th, and it's primary, but it's the only one that counts. This is Philly.
That's
We got
right.
6 Dems. So it's all on the line May the 20th. Anybody who wants details, it's krasnerforda.com. That's KRASNERFORDA.com. You can donate there. You can buy the coolest T-shirt ever, which says F around and find out on it. You can volunteer even from far away to do some phone banking. This is a people's campaign, and we are great with the people. We are great with the outsiders. Our problem comes with the institutions and the insiders, but we're going to prevail because people like your listeners are going to join this effort at a people's campaign.
Indeed, indeed. District Attorney from the great city of Philadelphia, the great state of Pennsylvania, even though I'm still stinged by my experiences there in college. Don't let that shine negatively on the people of Pennsylvania. We actually almost moved to Philly when I left Penn State University. It's a decision I still think about. And I will say my husband and I were just in Philadelphia for not too long ago for a concert a couple weeks ago, and it felt different in a good way. It felt different in a good way.
I have to ask which concert. I do have to ask that.
So it was October London, Tamar Braxton, and Raheem. It wasn't Raheem Devine. There was another person. I can't remember the third person. But Ro James. That's who it was. Ro James, Raheem. I keep saying Raheem Devine. Ro James, October London, and Tamar Braxton. It was dope. Tamar did that. Her voice remains magical and awesome and amazing. Ro James, always a favorite. October London, I'm more new to, but it felt good just being back in Philly. It had been years since we had been there. So y'all doing some good work down there.
It's a great place. Hey, listen, it's wonderful talking to you. I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm happy to come on anytime if you have nothing better to do.
Well, we got a lot of good things to do, and having conversations with you, we will now add to the list. Thank you so much for giving us some time today. Really appreciate you.